from it's COVID-19 watch on AIT, and of course we're starting the discussions now. Comrade Biobelemoye, Josiah, is joining me here in the studio. He is National Chairman, Joint Health Sector Unions. Comrade, good to see you.
It's a pleasure having me.
Happy Workers' Day.
And
Today belongs to the health workers, really.
Thank you.
Would you like to justify that?
Certainly.
Across the world, anywhere where May Day is celebrated today, it ought to be dedicated to the health workers.
I don't want, but I want to say health workers deserve a fair share of it because out there working, even you, the press people, are also giving information out to others so that sometimes if you don't give the information, government may not even know what is lacking. Like when there was a near turmoil in the health system because of us playing out. And when we cried, you gave up the voice. So when we made the appeal, government had, and very encouraging steps have been taken to curb that, though not in totality. But we believe that as long as we keep talking, you keep telling the truth story, then definitely we'll get on and then chart a real positive direction to win the battle.
Okay. There has been no time that that the plight of health workers have been brought to the fore like we have now. That is probably one of the positives of this pandemic, which is that it has drawn global attention to a sector where maybe if you take a country like Nigeria and other countries in sub-Saharan Africa, where the healthcare system had been in very parlous situation. Of course, we know what the health system in Nigeria was before now. I said was before. I assume that in the last couple of, at least in the last couple of weeks now, that attention had been on that sector. Some changes are happening. I mean, we know what the health sector used to be like in Nigeria. Thanks to COVID-19, even our government officials, at least one top government official, confessed that it was just now that he knew how very deplorable the health system in Nigeria was.
Thank you. I think that is shared by so many that COVID-19 has brought attention to the health system in Nigeria. If not that lives are lost, I would have, given COVID-19 some word of praise. But because COVID-19 is also not helping society, it's killing, it's stagnating.
Taking so much from humanity.
And they're taking from society. Yeah. But again, in every bad thing, they said there are positive sides of it. So it has brought the focus. It has also amplified our voice. This is something we've been shouting for decades, that the Nigerian health system is going down the drain. And that the public health is the only place, that is the only sector that can pull countries out of such situations. And that we should keep the public health sector in good order. But because so many people believe that the privatizing health institutions, making private incursions into the health system is better, I think they should see the result. In the United States of America, where the private sector, the health is in the private hands, and you can see the trouble they are going through.
Right now, yeah.
Now, UK, even the Prime Minister still went to a public hospital to be treated. So it is the public hospitals that really, if you keep them well, can, reduce the gap. Then the private sector can only come in. For instance, now in the US, because they had very few public hospitals, it was a real problem for them. When the private hospitals wanted to come in, they are business people.
Exactly.
They have to discuss.
Put cost on their services.
Yeah.
And pass the bill probably to government.
But if you have working public health system, it's only a directive. For instance, like the health workers today in the public sector. We are still talking about the enhanced hazard allowance and all that.
But they're already doing the work.
They were already doing the work. Nobody has taken any cover into his pocket. But we are there doing the work. We are not going to discuss, even as we are discussing, we are even mindful that it's like we are now, there's something like dereliction of our duties. That's why we are not even asking for too much. But I want to say that I want to really commend government for that speedy reaction to looking at the hazard allowance. But again, I should make it clear that there should be no discrimination.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Let me just bring in your comrade colleague who's joining us via Skype from Kano. Comrade Abubakar Alhassan Bichi is National President, Association of Medical Social Workers of Nigeria. He's joining us via Skype from Kano. Comrade, happy Workers' Day.
Happy Workers' Day. Happy Workers' Day.
Thank you, sir. First of all, we know that, I don't know whether you agree with Comrade Josiah here. I said today actually belongs to the health workers. You guys are the people who should. Yes, please go on.
Bio is the president of presidents. Yes, I agree with him totally. Yeah.
You agree that today belongs to the health workers?
Yeah.
Okay. Quickly bring us up to speed on what the situation is like now in Kano, please. Now that we have you there, what is the situation like in Kano, please?
Situation in Kano, there are quite much improvement.
I really can't make a lot of sense out of, I don't know, the sound is a little bit woolly. I don't know whether it's from your end or our end.
Probably is generally, the network maybe also is suffering from pandemic.
Okay.
But then, like I said, generally, things are improved. There are much improvement in Kano.
Okay.
As per previous week.
Okay. How are people complying with the lockdown that has been directed by the federal government? We understand today that Governor Ganduje is not happy with the lockdown and is actually asking the federal government to unlock Kano for the purposes of Ramadan. Do you think that is the right way to go?
Well, I cannot speak to the government, but then the lockdown is a must. It's something that is a must because our country exists to achieve what they have achieved. So I think it's a temporary thing, something that the lockdown is temporary. It will come and go by the special grace of God.
So you achieve some things in Kano. It will help probably to curb the rampant movement which has, because within a span of 2 weeks that Kano started recording index cases, Kano has become the second on the list first official cases reported now, like in Adamawa, like to come across the pandemic, start the pandemic in their states.
You see, for someone to compare Kano with the Obochi, then it's not really realistic. Because Kano is a cosmopolitan city. And with the current weather, which is very hot.
Yes, comrade, are you still there?
Yeah, I will see. With the weather, current weather, which is very, very hot, as just previous week or 2 weeks back. Okay. And with the advent of the lockdown, which is, is structured there are quite a number of places in the city, in the inner city there, you'll find out that there are possibility of having a lot of infection, not necessarily even pandemic. There are possibilities of meningitis, possibilities of having these diseases, etc., etc. So, of course, you should expect that. But then, I think there are quite some proactive measures taken. The situation have been worsened, which is recorded.
All right. Let me come to you here, comrade. The truth is that I'm having a lot of challenge with the audio.
Yeah.
Okay, you are hearing the same thing too. Very difficult to actually make too much sense out of what Comrade in Kano, the Minister of Health today, at today's press briefing. As many as one elite are among the a little over 2,000 COVID-19 positive cases we have in Nigeria. Now, if you look at the percentage of 113 to a little over 2,000, that's much. Because sector or group of professionals that is facing as much risk as we have here.
Certainly, no other sector should. Reason because we are,
you are the frontal.
Yes. We are the organism. We are engaging the virus. So the possibility of we having a greater number is there. But we can also reduce it if we begin to provide the necessary things that you see are numbered there. We are not designed, we are not in a place where people thought they would be engaging the virus. They were just in the general hospitals or federal medical centers or teaching hospitals in their normal duty stands. Just like trying to attend to normal, patients that are coming in. So that's why, before now, when we shouted that every health worker should be, it should be made available for every health worker, that is the PPEs, should be made available for every health worker. Some people were thinking we were crying too loud. But because we know, and when we said, look, the hazard allowance should also, because initially the thought pattern of the hazard allowance was to only people in the isolation,
isolation
and treatment centers. And we shouted, say, no, every health worker is exposed to it. And that the degree of exposure, sometimes it is more in those health areas where you are not expecting to engage this virus. So some of the people were gotten in that way. They just went in to treat patients as if, they are just looking at maybe a malaria, somebody has come in and then the diagnosis perhaps is malaria or something else. And then at the end of the day, you discover that that person is already a COVID-19 patient. And so from immediately, the number of people that are attended to that patient are quarantined and then checked. Then you start getting the number. So the number is not really encouraging because the percentage is high. But I believe because we are doing, my prayers is always with the health workers, those who are in the front line, who are actually facing this thing daily, because I know God will help us through because we are there trying to serve.
Let's hope Comrade Bichi is back on the line. Let's hope he's back and better this time. Comrade Bichi, let me hear your voice. If you are back there, we're looking at the plight of health workers in Nigeria. On behalf of the Association of Medical Social Workers, particularly with this COVID-19. Hello, comrade.
Rick, we are also frontline health workers. Any suspect there should be is what we call pre-test counseling, and there we call post-test counseling. And after that, we are also part of the management team of any COVID compound social support. And after that, we are to allay all the fears of the disease, to tell the confirmed cases, to tell the patient that this is not a death warrant.
Comrade, we will hear you better if you put off the volume of the TV set by your side.
Because
we will hear you better if you put off the volume of the TV set by your side.
Okay. Because you see, patients, like I said in the free test counseling, before a suspected person is tested, he's supposed to benefit from benefit from counseling, to allay all the fears, all the traumas, all the worries. After the result might have come out and he's confirmed to be positive, we are also very, very vital there to give him all the hope, all the assurances that this is not a death sentence. He will get free from the disease. So we are very key in the management of COVID patients.
Both before, during, and probably after. Because that is counseling on how to stand up to stigmatization from the society.
Yes. We are involved into contact tracing. If you have an index case and you need to contact of those that he might have contacted, he might have interacted with, we are involved into that. So we are very key in the management of COVID patients.
And in all of this, your members are exposed to the risks, just like those who are also in the theater or in the isolation centers.
Yeah.
You are exposed as them.
We are also it's involved in my members is cannot be overemphasized. Somebody there's possibility of you contacting. So we are also supposed to apply all the protective equipment whenever we are to make any contact with such a body. The hazard allowance is now reviewed upwards. So kudos to our. But then that is not enough. We hope after the pandemic, the tempo will be maintained. Because since 2011 or thereabout, we have been having 5,000. So we hope it will be reviewed afterwards, even after the pandemic, as I clearly had the label.
All right, comrade, I'll come back to you shortly. Comrade Biobelemoye, let's try and prioritize the needs now of the health as the starting point. I'm not even sure that health workers will make salary as their number one demand. Probably the issue of safety for them, protection for them, will probably rank higher. What should we be challenging government to do there? What does it cost government to protect an average health worker that lives his house workplace?
I think that should be a top priority, because if the health worker is not alive or is not in good health, he won't be able to dispense health to the needs, those who need it.
Or I'm actually signing a death warrant for myself. Because if you knowingly, you know that this is an infectious patient,
yes,
and you are not protected, and you know once you have contact with him, you are as good as having the infection as well.
Yes, as humans, that always comes in a way. You know, that's why you see us sometimes getting into situations where we are not even protected.
However,
we want government
yes,
to actually prioritize protecting the health worker, so that without fear, without anything to discourage him of or to give him a second thought, that is going to be, it will swallow at a high pedestal to actually discharge his duties. Next, that I would want government to prioritize is this: funding.
Funding of the health sector.
Before government would come, the managers of the system would have provided these, very safe environment, safe kitting, and everything for the health workers to give them that confidence that they are not going for a suicide mission, that they are going kitted. Funding is key. Where you say, okay, if we are at 15% and then we are still talking around 4, 5, 6%, then it means we are not serious. Actually, we are not serious.
The Abuja declaration talked of, is it 15%?
Yeah.
I think it's 15%. That has the agreement between ECOWAS leaders.
That's it.
Which was signed in Abuja.
But we are still now way down. So funding is key. Then the management.
So no amount is too much to guarantee the health and well-being of the society.
Because we are fighting, or we want to defend the nation, because the health workers are still alive. No longer having that confidence. It's just like the army. Once your army loses that morale, every enemy, even with a double barrel, can overrun the weapon, and the other one is not carrying weapon. And so, where the do's and the do-nots, maybe we can maneuver the enemy and then come out still safe and free. Secondly, we also know that maybe if today, like those over 100 persons that have been infected, worried, but they still have some hope that they can be treated in the isolation centers if the treatment regimen is properly followed, if the protocol is followed, that they know they still, if you look at them, deep down in them, you see that they are not thinking of dying because they have been infected. Because they themselves have seen people come out of this very situation. So that hope is what gives us the courage to go in. But we would not want government to take it for granted. We want government to really do everything possible to equip the health worker appropriately. And I want to say again, you see, about 3 decades and a half ago, the Nigerian health system was among some of the best in the world.
So what happened?
So
3 decades ago, wouldn't that be
about
at the
35
time,
years ago?
Wouldn't that be at the time when the military was describing the health system in Nigeria as shambolic? And General Abacha, late General Abacha actually described our hospitals then as mere consulting clinics. That would be like 30 years ago. Or how many years ago?
That was not exactly 35 years ago.
Exactly.
We're talking about before 1985.
Okay.
Yeah, UCH places, we are placed among the best, 5 in the Commonwealth and all that. But even at that, if you look at health system, backwards to now, you'll see that even though we have more capacity, we have so many professors in the health system, in the health industry and all that, but we are not getting where we ought to be, commensurately with what we have really built ourselves to be. Reason because there's high level of disharmony in the system.
Would the deep division in our polity also be accountable for this? Because when you have the national and subnational governments pulling in different directions, pulling according to the dictates of what is happening in their different political parties, there's not a common template to address anything, including health.
Certainly, the political involvement, that is negative involvement, causes a lot. Let me give you an example. Sorry to say it, but you see, the intention to take primary health to local government was a good intention. Very good intention. Even primary education was very good intention. But the bane of it is that those local government heads that these very critical sectors were given to never had an average chairman or councillor would prefer to collect the money which is supposed to be for health, primary health, to go and buy cars. All right? And they also sometimes forget that even these 2 sectors, for instance, like the primary health now, until we correct that, we won't get anywhere in this country. Like in primary health, are parasites to the local councils. Forgetting that at the time primary health was dissected from state, and primary education was dissected from state to local government, funds were also attached to them. They came with funds because before they are coming, local government allocation was a mere 10%. 10%. Then 1% for establishment and training. So totaling 11%. But it was a coming of these two key sectors.
That was what was responsible
that now
for
increased their allocation to 21%. But they treat workers and health issues at the local government level with triviality. And of course,
perhaps
sometimes with
also
neglect.
because we have also, as citizens, not focused attention on the role of the local government and demand some level of development. Because if I know, for instance, that this is how much my local government gets as allocation, and I know that that money has been released to that local government, it should be, citizens' action should force the local governments to also spend the money according to what they are meant for.
I think it's very apt. Your own proposal is apt, but the problem here is this. Like somebody who grew from the grassroots as a labor leader, I have had a time that I was detained because I was trying to push. And the first thing they will brand you.
Yeah.
The first thing they will brand you, you are sponsored by the opposition, especially within the political setting now. So until our politicians begin to know that when labor leaders are talking, for instance, that reminds me now, as we speak today, I was still following up, I'm still calling for the report from Kaduna Psychiatric Center, where health workers that even volunteered to go and give service, take the risk, even before this hazard allowance was approved for federal. At the state now, some of my members have reported that they have been, kind of victimized by their heads because they are just union leaders. We are still getting that. When I get the full report of it, I'll get it out to you.
All right. Let's get to Kano, Comrade Bichi. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay. We're trying to look at the needs of the health workers in Nigeria and try to prioritize them. How will you draw up your own priority on behalf of your members? Will salary be the number one thing you will be concerned about, or the safety of your members first, that they have a safe environment to work? When they go to work, they have the necessary protective gear to work with to protect them.
You see, no matter what, you cannot pay. There is no amount of money that can pay a health worker. And the issue what we have been battling is not the issue of money. It's not the issue of money. What we are concerned, conducive working environments to provide tools for work. As a man, you pay a health worker, you didn't pay him. As we are speaking now, a lot of health workers are contracted with this pandemic, with this disease. So what are we talking about? But if you make the hospital to be conducive, everybody will work in a conducive environment, of course, the issue of pay can come after. So at least if we look at that, you know, but unfortunately, there is a lot of marginalization, injustice among the health workers in Nigerian system. Some people that there are some that are the leaders, or when you have a team, there should be a team leader. That is very understandable. But then the situation whereby that a lot of is bringing a lot of demoralization to a lot of health workers. So that semblance of injustice, if it could be addressed, then I think all health workers will look at it more positively and will continue to contribute their quotas effectively. Even though with all the level of the injustice being seen, still the health workers are doing their best to their quota effectively.
Okay. What about the issue of funding? How much will be enough, really? Or how much will be too much to pump into the health sector? Particularly now that we have seen how very bare the sector has been left.
In fact, COVID-19 pandemic,
yes,
in another way we call it, is a blessing.
Okay.
Because the DCF, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, he made it point in the whole world heard of that he had never known the sorry state of health sector until when the pandemic evolved. So I think it's the government serious enough, putting in money, putting so much money, putting in billions in a budget to give at least 30 to 40% of the entire budget is not out of place. So I think there is a need for government to think, to put more funds into healthcare. So that, in fact, if you go to some state and some local government level where we have the primary healthcare centers, it's a sorry state. That is why some tertiary health institutions, they are meant to treat referral cases and to treat. But now, you go to a lot of tertiary health institutions, you will see malaria is being treated, which is not supposed to be. It's supposed to be treated at the local level, not even at the scan level. So if the government will have a think now, at least to pump in more money into health sector, at least we are good to go. So in a way, COVID-19 is a blessing. If somebody like Asia will come out to tell the whole world he never knew the sorry state of Nigerian health sector, so I think it's a plus, and I hope the government will do the needful.
All right, comrade, how for us not to allow this opportunity to slip by without making a positive use of it is also of concern to us. Is that also of concern to you as union leaders in that health sector?
It's a prime concern, very, very strong concern for us.
Because there's a possibility that once this is all over,
normally in the Nigerian way,
the government will withdraw to its safe comfort and then begin to negotiate with you from position of strength that time.
Yeah.
Now that you are the ones in position of strength, How for us not to allow this opportunity to go by without registering some positives?
I would want government to realize that we put premium to human life more than using this period to pressure them.
Okay.
Now that it is made bare, what we have been shouting years back has come to the open. Even after COVID-19, this seems to also support us at that time. Don't see us as the boys that there is none. Now everybody knows that the wolf was there. And the wolf was small, and now it grew very big.
And the wolf was killing people at the time.
At the time.
Yes.
So if they, to be very candid, I assure you, if after now they begin to retract their vigor in ensuring that the health system, it will be good for them to, if they do that, you hear us come out shouting. And this time I believe Nigerians will understand us better. That is one of the positives that COVID-19 has brought. Another positive COVID-19 has brought is that, you see, initially, prior to now, people were looking at the health system. When we are crying that health system is a teamwork, everybody in the health system is important. Yeah. From the person, the security man at the gate, yeah, the cleaner to the ambulance driver, to the professionals and the cleaners, and everybody is important. And people were saying, how? Today. And that's why I fought, and I'm still fighting, that even after COVID-19, post-COVID-19, the hazard allowance, and Johesu is still on the position that it should be flat.
Has government not, or what is the position of government? What's the reaction of government to that?
So far, in the temporary agreement,
yes,
it is not a flat rate. It is regarded as if...
When you say flat rate, what does that mean?
What we are saying is that
everybody will get the same thing?
On hazard. On hazard, my position is, it was so before.
The hazards don't discriminate between who
COVID-19 does not discriminate. Infect you more. COVID-19 has said, because you are a doctor, I will infect you more. And because when it is a cleaner, I will not infect a professional. But I will speak
everybody faces equal risk.
Equal risk. Equal risk. COVID-19 will never. And again, the cleaners and all that, even for me, have greater exposure than us. Some of those other people may not even recognize it. They still walk into it. Why you do? The last place, for instance, like the cleaner that we kind of derogate in a way, or the man that starts the generator, that we used to derogate sometime. Rubbish goes down to a place, and it is this cleaner that goes to clean. Now,
and that is where all the infections have been packed to.
They have all gone to assemble there.
He is actually facing more.
Facing more. Now, and again, the danger, if we don't take care of this group of workers, we are also exposing ourselves. So I would want government to see hazard as a discriminating element. And so it should be, it was 5,000 before. So whatever we want to do today, after COVID-19, if we want to go and settle, let it be that whatever amount we are giving should be flat, because those smaller ones have even little less money to treat themselves. And the treatment itself is equal. The same amount of money you use in treating the medical doctor when he's infected is the same amount of money you use in treating the other professionals and non-professionals.
I'm sure the issue of, what's that other one now? Insurance.
Insurance.
Yes, it's for everyone.
Insurance
for everybody.
Insurance, I just hope, because this one is temporary.
Okay.
All we are saying is that after the COVID-19, like you said, let government not begin to go into their normal, way of thinking. Now, why? Because today, none of them is flying out. Nobody in government is flying out for medical attention. Medical tourism, naturally has been reduced. But so if they keep our health institutions better here, they may also save so much resources that they will be using to fly out and then maybe use it to build bigger houses for us in the beautiful houses that some of us that cannot build can admire and be happy and go to sleep sometimes.
Comrade Bichi, let me come to you for your final words, please. The discrimination, because when risks come, it doesn't identify a doctor and separate him from the cleaner.
You can see. I mentioned.
Can you do that in just like a minute and a half?
Mention something like injustice. How can we be receiving 5,000 as hazard allowance for more than a decade? including doctors, nurses, medical social workers, medical lab scientists, everybody, cleaners, 5,000 for more than a decade. Now, with the COVID-19, the government decided to jack the hazard allowance by percentage of basic salary. And the doctor's basic salary for a fresh doctor, medical doctor, is much more than for a graduate of any some other professional. So that's discrimination, that is injustice. Like you said, what will be used to treat a medical doctor is the same amount that will be used to treat a hospital attendant. So we are just keeping quiet because of the pandemic now, but certainly after the pandemic, that doesn't allow, it should have to come back to flat rate.
All right.
If we have to receive
thank you so much, comrade. I just have to let you go from there. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your finding time, comrade Abubakar Alhassan Bichi, National President, Association of Medical Social Workers of Nigeria. Join us live via Skype from Kano and from Abuja here in the studio. Comrade Biobelemoye told you those. Thank you for still having the confidence to come all the way to come and be here physically.
Thank you for taking us, and I pray God to always be with the health workers.
Thank you so much. And those of us too who are also,
and also those
at the front line with you.
Front line with us. God should be with Nigeria for health workers.
All right.
Because we are confronting the virus.
The monster. COVID Watch 19 for this evening, the 1st of May 2020, Workers' Day. Thank you for investing your time with us. Enjoy the rest of the night. On behalf of all of us, my name is Benga. I really see you around.